this is a separate request that we are just making at the same time as the special use permit appeal, but it arises from a different statute.
All right, that's fine. That's a different question. So that's a request, and
Right.
essentially, a request could be written and submitted to the board as a request, but it's really not part of this appeal. And they submitted it simultaneously, but it really is a separate issue. That is not, it's not part of what we're compelled to hear and open the hearing on, but it is something, if there's any, not to review it, one of the cases we put in did refer to that, but it wasn't about rescinding, it was about ongoing, monitoring and making sure that things, complied with what was said. So it's a related issue, but a different issue, and it is not subject to an appeal, so to speak. So it's something we can look at, as a possible obligation this board has in relation to the project, but it's really outside the scope of what we're doing here in this appeal.
Okay.
I'm gonna start. This is a large copy. There's a larger copy here for your records. And then in each of the binders, I think on this, you can see there's like a holdout for each of you. So you have a copy of that. I just wanted to start by quoting Tim in an email he submitted to you in response. A response you had to our original documentation submission. I want to be clear that the documents submitted tonight by no means represent all of our submissions to date, and I provided tonight again as a courtesy so that you can easily review relevant background to this appeal. And Tim Rode states that the materials Safe Craryville have provided are relevant to the issue of whether the ZBA should rescind its secret negative declaration. If the ZBA refuses to even consider reopening SECR based on new information, then Safe Craryville will deem that decision to be a constructive denial of its request without a hearing or any record, triggering an immediate right to file an Article 78 against the ZBA. Similarly, if the planning board chooses to proceed with its site plan review despite the possibility that A, the applicant's special use permit has expired, and B, the ZBA's negative declaration is no longer valid based on new information, then the planning board also opens itself up to a mandamus or injunctive proceeding. And to translate this for us lay people, Kendall's client, this board, this town, should tonight understand the very broad and significant implications of your future determination on this appeal. Now, the fact that we are appealing the special use permit expiration gives this town and this board and this community a lawful and procedural opportunity to rescind the negative declaration and prevent the reissuance of the special use permit. It gives this board a chance to make this right, to avoid potential environmental degradation to this community. The Safe Craryville Community Coalition has documented and financed.
Can I stop you for a second? I think Ken just mentioned that the secret issue is separate. What we want to talk about right now is the persons agreed and the special use permit expiration. So if you could separate those two, and we do give advice, as you saw, to people who come with applications threatening us with a lawsuit at the very beginning. Probably the best way to approach a board of volunteers who work for the community and spend a lot of time making sure we do things right. So just giving you advice as a board. Good advice.
I love taking advice.
Yeah, good. So could you please separate the SECRA request from the declaration?
Yes, it will come up again. Thank you. We have done the footwork, but what we are really doing is providing a legal record that protects this town and your agency from this applicant. This is your way out. This is your resolve. Please seriously consider reviewing all of our documentation at safecraryville.org. ask questions, meet with us, we are at your disposal, because this isn't just about the expiration of a special use permit, as your attorney suggests. This is about protecting a community. On December 15th, in an ineffectually posted public hearing open since September of the same year, this board voted on a motion to close the GRGH public hearing. Chairman, current CBA member and town judge-elect Jeffrey Judd and former member Hillary Thomas voted to issue the negative declaration of significance and the special use permit. Minutes reveal that the special use permit and the negative declaration was granted since, quote, the prior
Are you
use.
talking about the special use permit expiration, or are you talking about the negative
I'm talking
declaration of the secret?
I said, minutes reveal that the special use permit, I'm referring to the special use
Okay,
permit.
There,
This
this does have to be
the-
relevant
Yeah.
to the point.
Right.
There, you know, there are times when you may encounter this, and there is a point of interpretation of the code. The facts are pretty minimal
Right.
as they're relevant to it. There was a date when the special use permit was issued. There's a provision in the Copake code that deals with expiration of that.
Mhm.
And we know that this has been in site plan ever since. And the question is, does the building inspector, the code enforcement officer, interpret that code provision properly? And that's pretty much it.
Right,
So,
but what is your definition of a grievance then? Because what I'm doing is providing the background for these 9 applicants' grievances, right?
You just
no,
said.
How they
wait,
are
wait,
agreed.
these are
That's
legal
what I'm
points, if you don't mind.
referencing.
An aggrieved party is someone who suffered, basically, and again, I'm putting this in imperfect terms, so basically someone who suffers a special harm as a result.
Right.
We don't need the complete history. What is the harm that would apply to these persons that is different and distinct from the public at large? And I
I'm
don't
getting
think,
that, with all due respect, I'm getting there, but you've
By
interrupted me
being
3
pejorative and
times.
insulting to what this board did. We had public hearings and they were totally public.
let's not talk about these
So-
things. These are not relevant things.
This is something that we've documented over a
But
year.
they're not relevant to the question. What went on and how this project was handled and all the reviews went on are not relevant to the question, which is a very precise question of an interpretation of a provision in the code. That's what we are here for. And the board does have some control over what is considered relevant and not relevant. So
Right, sir.
a lot of things that you're going on about do not have any bearing on that
Right.
question.
So are you saying that the documentation that our hydrogeologists submitted is not part of the grievance of to potential well water contamination from the proposed site? Is that
Yes.
irrelevant?
No, that
Okay.
could be relevant to showing that someone may be
Okay.
affected, but we don't have to go, but nothing you've said so far has been about that.
It's an introduction, I'm just providing background
He
and
just wants a little leeway for background, couple of minutes.
Not time for it.
it's done.
Excuse me. You've sat through a few of our hearings already. We have a procedure, okay? You came up here wanting to control this. Just listen to what we're asking you to give us at the time that we ask you, okay? So as far as what you want to give us and what we need to hear, and the questions that we need answered is more important than your 1 year of work and stuff that you did. We're gonna get through this, okay?
With all due
And
respect,
also, your introduction to threaten this board, okay, that was part of your introduction. Okay, had nothing to do with this appeal or why the 9 people are here. So just listen to what this man asks you to say and answer the question. We'll get through this. Sounds good?
if I may, in order to understand the issue before the board, the narrow issue that Ken mentioned, which is whether whether these parties have standing to challenge the special use permit, You have to understand how the parties would be aggrieved. And to understand how they'd be aggrieved, you have to have some background information about what the project is that the special use permit was for.
That's true, and we acknowledged that from the very beginning, but we haven't heard anything about that.
No, but you didn't actually acknowledge it, you said that I couldn't even hand out the documentation. So I'm
No,
going
well,
to
I
talk
said
about the
specifically
agreed parties now.
I did say specifically that to the extent that we need to know enough about the project for them to make determinations about how people are aggrieved.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean recapping the process by which it was reviewed in the past. It is, what is the material impact of this project on
Right.
those people? So we'd like to, I think,
Of
stick
course.
with those things.
Of course, and I'm now going to reference this map, which is a very important exhibit in our presentation. On the map of Affian Properties, we have separated the areas into quadrants A, B, C, and D to help define how individual grievances are representative of a broader total impact on this hamlet community. Accordingly, quadrants A, B, C, and D all will be exposed to scenic disturbance, air, water, soil, and light pollution, as well as commercial and financial risks to their property values and businesses. Quadrant,
Wait, that statement you just made, is that from one of the agreed parties? Or is that you or say Craryville making a general statement
We're making the general statement about the impact on the aggrieved party.
of this development?
Yes.
Okay.
Quadrant A includes the lands of Affian's Peter Batier abutting, here,
One of the people is in a butter,
yes.
so they would have been informed completely all along through the process of the process, just wanna make sure. And a butter is informed, as you've seen, of every single public hearing as we go through the process.
Just,
Good, no, I just wanted to make
This-
sure.
He was aware of this whole thing.
There aren't that many
Right.
butters.
but he hasn't been, he hasn't been informed throughout the entire process.
Oh.
And here
It's
with,
all right, let's just-
okay, Peter Batier, and here with us tonight, I'm sorry, Peter Batier is here with us tonight, and William Rossweiler, Michael Palin,
And
and
where are they
Carol
from,
Palin.
as you located this person here, right?
Michael and Carol Palin own these two lots,
Okay.
and this is Rossweiler's, land.
Okay.
And Rossweiler owns,
C, on C. He's also on C.
Rossweiler and his
Right.
farm.
I didn't,
And CND.
CND
as well.
yes. Quadrant A's grievances are commercial and economic in nature, a result of potential impacts to their scenic view sheds. Impact to view sheds come at a steep price for these property owners, as their open rural farm fields, up gradient of site, have benefited from unobstructed views of Copake Scenic Valley for hundreds of years. Please reference the document of photography provided in the front pocket of your binders. Each Affian's view shed is documented here and will be provided in digital format following this meeting. GRJH's proposed gas station visual obstruction is documented here by the use of a white box on each photograph. Quadrant B includes the lands of Affian's James Cox Chambers, owner of FH Farms LLC, here with us tonight. Hillary Melville, Homestead Market LLC, aka Random Harvest, and Irene Sachs. Quadrant B's grievances are largely commercial, related to competing and incompatible commercial, agricultural, agritourism, and scenic-driven economic interests. James Cox Chambers operates a sizable biodynamic.
Can you just stop there again? So there's a commercial grievance from each of us, just to be clear.
Quadrant B's grievances are, James Cox Chambers operates a sizable biodynamic and organic agricultural business on his land to the northeast of proposed site that could be significantly impaired by the development of GRJH's proposed gas station. Hillary Melville owns and operates Random Harvest Historic Farm Market, which business relies not only on rural scenic view sheds, but also on sources of locally grown produce. GRJH's proposed convenience store would be in direct competition with their grocery, convenience, and prepared food businesses. Irene Sachs lives in a family home, the historic home of Peter Crary, for which Craryville is named for. Her property sits directly across Craryville Road from the proposed GRJH site. Her property is residential but could be developed commercially in the future. She will be directly impacted by noise, air, and light pollution from her property. Quadrant C includes the lands of William Rossweiler. He is the owner of Rossweiler Angus Farms LLC, and Roberta Linda Darling, the owner and operator of Burt's Inn. Quadrant C's grievances relate to the well water contamination hotspot identified by hydrogeologist Paul Rubin in your, the September 5th in your binder. Burt's Inn relies on clean water for the daily operation of her business. Every month, the health department tests her point well water to ensure the water is safe for commercial and public consumption in her bar room. If her well water were to be contaminated, her commercial and financial losses would be immeasurable. Roberta Linda Darling's health department well test is documented as an exhibit in Paul Rubin's September 5th letter. William Rossweiler is perhaps the largest landowner in the Craryville hamlet and likely one of the largest in the town of Copake. Rossweiler's property is currently used for Angus livestock and growing feed, which not only relies on clean water and soil, but also on the health and biodiversity of the Taconic Creek and surrounding wetlands. The value of his farms and properties have significant exposure to environmental and economic degradation posed by the potential GRJH development. It is important to note that William Rossweiler also owns the lands proposed for the future extension of the Harlem Valley Rail Trail, which value to this community and to the state are by and large scenic. Any disruption to the natural, historic, and scenic environment would be detrimental to this future use. Quadrant D includes the lands of Tim Heffernan here with us tonight, and again, William Rossweiler. Tim Heffernan lives in a home with his family adjacent to the historic Craryville post office, which he also owns. Quadrant C's grievances again relate to the well water contamination. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. D's grievances again relate to the well water contamination hotspot identified by hydrogeologist Paul Rubin. Timothy Heffernan's property is used residentially but is zoned for commercial use. Any contamination to his well water would not only create economic hardship for his family but also degrade the value of his residential and commercial property. Timothy Heffernan also benefits from the scenic viewshed afforded by Peter Baudier's open rural lands to the north of proposed GRGH gas station. Like Roberta, Tim and William Rossweiler's wells are documented as part of the contamination hotspot identified down gradient of proposed site. Tim's well geology is documented again as an exhibit in Paul Rubin's September 5th letter. So I just wanted to, these are Paul Rubin's exhibits. This is his first that shows the down gradient contamination hotspot, water pollution, and here is our empirical data of actual well.
Now, reading the planning board minutes of your many presentations, weren't there competing hydrologists from different places who had different versions, and this is just one of those versions? The other one was much different than this.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay, I just wanted to bring that up, and I don't think it's going to be relevant to the issue, but you know, when you show something like that, it's probably good to be, you know, complete in your explanation and say this has also been denied or disproven by another group.
These renderings are revised, and I don't
Right,
believe
so they
we
haven't been,
we haven't received a response to these specific.
From the planning board, but they will.
Not
Again,
yet.
that's not. Well, that's a very good summary, and you talked about all 9.
And then, well, there are 9 individual
Yes.
affidavits that get into more detail.
Right.
later.
And we could review them at the end.
yeah, and there are actually 2 applicants here tonight that can speak if you would like them.
No, I don't think that's relevant.
I mean,
I mean, they ought to speak, but I mean, it's a question.
It'll be, I'd rather have it at the public hearing so that the public is aware of it.
I
and
think
they know.
if you could give them the opportunity, all 9 people, at one hearing, so if these 2 people could speak
Oh,
now.
it's not a hearing.
No, but they're the applicants, so they should be, if they have
Oh,
something to
they
say.
are the,
They are the
applicants. Oh, they should be
yeah.
able to, they
and
should
what are they going to talk to us about?
Well, why don't they
In
tell
addition-
you? I
are
think
they
it's a
gonna tell
very
us
short, I mean,
Something
they're,
different than what you just told us.
I think, yes, they will.
Okay, if it's new and different, then we should hear that. And you have to state your name publicly, because you will be in the record in the minutes.
Tim Pepper, and I'll be very brief here.
Good.
I just want
How do
to
you
show
spell your last name, sir?
HEFFERNAN.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on the map, too, everyone has all the names on it for your ease, so you see.
That was good.
So, you guys gonna have to share here too. So just to, this is showing.
You're next to the firehouse, right?
I am, yeah, right across from Bert's.
Right.
And, my well is right here. And this with the measurement, 81 yards. It's 81 yards from the nearest pump to my well. My well's only 20 feet deep. It's sand and gravel, it's surface water. Any drop of gas that gets dropped is going in my water.
Now,
It's
you're
surface
right
water.
next to the firehouse, right?
Almost, there's.
Have you ever, now they wash the trucks there and everything,
They're down.
Have you ever had any runoff from the firehouse?
They're downstream from me and on the other side.
Downstream, you're on the stream.
Yes, so
Show us the screen.
the stream, so
It's the
it's,
firehouse, right? We're talking-
no, that's my house.
Oh.
The firehouse is
Oh,
down
it's
here.
farther down, okay, I thought you were farther down.
There's a stream that begins in my neighbor's yard and comes through my yard along the railroad tracks, crosses under the road next to Bert's, and goes down to the Rottweiler's fields, right?
And nothing from over here currently affects your water? Cause that seems to me where
This
it get
is-
affected.
This is where the water's, this is spring fed, so there's water bubbling up out of the ground.
Right.
Right, so, yeah, and there's no gas station here to pollute my water now. Right,
Right.
so, no,
Well,
not,
there's businesses there, there's been.
No,
Or
this
you're
is
talking
a
about the
residence.
South side of the street.
this is a residence. Random Harvest is here,
Right,
they
right.
wash vegetables, I don't think that's gonna bother me.
No, I was talking about if you had any instances in the past, you know, cause.
No, there's no
Yeah.
commercial operations, there's a church, there's nothing here to affect the aquifer. But being that it's only 80 yards from the pumps to my well, I can stick a shovel in the ground and get water. The water is right there at the surface, it's bubbling up out of the ground. My kids swim in this water here in the spring. And,
And your well is top on that spring, or does your well go down into the ground?
only 20 feet. And it's
It's a new
documented.
well, it's
It's a
20?
new well that, yes.
In the planning board minutes, you said it was only a couple of years old, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did about 8 years ago. And
Yeah.
it was always, this is an 1800 house.
They went to 20 feet.
Didn't even have to go that far. You literally can hit water at 4 feet. So, you know, they just had a point well in the basement since 1800.
Right, that's what I was asking, whether you had
Yeah,
one.
and, the point jammed up and I said, well, I should really do this right, cause your insurance company doesn't like a point well, but I certainly could have just driven into the point. So anyway, that's my concern, is that there's almost no chance that my water won't get polluted. I mean, even if there's not a catastrophic event, it's just all this, you know, every time someone takes their pump, their thing out of the car, they drop some, it's going in the water. So that's my concern, and my curiosity is how is the applicant, what does their insurance look like? Has anyone seen their insurance? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna, if they pollute my well, am I gonna spend 8 years trying to take them to court, trying to get them to dig me a new well? Where do I live for 8 years while it's in court? Maybe I can live at the home.
We're not the right people to ask that question, but it's probably a good question to find out.
That's a very good question. I can't afford to take these guys to court if they pollute my well. I have a family. There's 3 little kids, 2 adults. Where are we gonna go if we don't have water? So this is critically important that at least be studied before. And to be honest, I'm not against the idea of there being a convenience store there. The neighborhood looks crappy, it would be nice to have something there. I like the idea, I think it could improve the neighborhood, but I'm very worried about my water and the light
Have you
pollution
been
as well.
to, cause these issues have come up at the planning board many, many times, have you been to those meetings and
I've been to
listened?
several.
Have you listened to what they're doing to remediate your concerns?
They haven't said anything about remediating, they have not said anything, I haven't heard
There's
any.
nothing have been said about water runoff, or, I think we have the chairman of the
Water.
planning board here might say that
No, we-
these subjects are.
Or-
Well, I'm just
Public
asking,
hearing.
yeah, public hearing, people get to weigh in.
I went to 2 hearings, I didn't hear them speak on
Okay.
anything
But
actually,
again,
in the 2 hearings. I
at the
went to.
planning board, these issues I know have been discussed.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's-
saying that you're not potentially agree, but you
Yeah.
also might wanna educate yourself about what's been said by the folks.
I'd be happy to read that, it just worries me because, you know.
And I'm sure
e-
that, you know, the people who brought you here would have that documentation.
Even
They-
companies like Exxon who are wildly covered in liability, still the homeowner is gonna be in court for 8 years with no water, so where's my family gonna go? So that's my main concern, and also, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just, maybe, we may be getting far afield, but, Tim might even address.
Heffernan.
You're concerned primarily about runoff or tank leaks or something else?
You said like somebody.
Either.
Filling their.
Well, and
tank.
tank length, although tanks the technology for tanks has improved a lot, the likelihood of a tank leak is much less than it used to be from the
Yes.
70s. But, you know, there's always spillage, just always is, so. And drinking surface water, so certainly there will be gas in my surface water that I have to drink and be my kids drink, so that's my concern.
Thank you. Very well spoken.
My name is Peter Bodger. So you can locate the property on the map.
You got the spelling?
No.
D-O-T-J-E.
P-O-T-T.
He's the abutter.
Directly north, yes. So, as the previous person said, I wasn't initially opposed to any development. I can see things that would be beneficial. This development troubles me some, and for some of the reasons that I'm over in terms of spillage, probably more than anything in terms of the gasoline, because I've read some of the engineering of tanks and metal tanks and all the safety features. I've read some of the documentation that was in the previous meetings. So it would be more, accidental type of things, which would possibly flow onto the immediate property north. In general,
No, we're here the opposite direction of the
Yes,
gentleman.
but that would only be, yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna flow both ways, guys.
it depends how they would do it, of course, I'm just.
I do
mentioning
believe
that.
though that the
It-
land
I'm just
flows
saying
away from you.
It flows
The land
away,
flows, right.
yes, no, that's pretty obvious. There is a ravine that comes down, which is sort of
Right.
periodic with heavy rains, would go right through the middle of the proposed site, and so they would have to mitigate
Yeah,
that as well.
they talked about that.
Sure. So, and then beyond that, it's fairly obvious that there would be a impact on the view and the value of abutting property. So, as I said earlier, that's, it may be bad depending on the development. I happen to feel that this development would not be good, but, again, I'm not saying that nothing would be beneficial, but this one seems to be not. So I'm not, it be a log on this one way or the other in terms of development of this project. Upsets me.
Have you kept up to date with all the planning board meetings?
This is,
and the-
no, and I'm been lacking in that, but I do have one question,
Yeah.
because it's come up with, this, and as I was hearing other cases brought before you, I found it very interesting. I've not been involved in such procedures before, and it is interesting. But you talked about the developer or whoever's proposing a change notifying immediate abutters, not people that are across state highway or something, but immediate abutters. And I do not know, I will admit exactly what the regulations are for that. I have a vague recollection
You
that.
own property right next to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That touches it.
Then you would have been getting a buddy notice from us every
Okay, I'm
month.
gonna check, I'll check that out.
I-
Should have been
I
notified.
remember,
There should be some documentation, right?
It's
No, wait,
certified mail.
no, yeah, actually, that's not, I have to actually check, because that's not a state requirement, that's a local requirement.
Oh,
And I actually have to check.
You're in Hills?
Well, no, no.
no, this land is in Copake.
I, to be honest, I can't remember, some things, variances are, some things are, some things aren't, I have to, and actually,
Oh, whether they're.
I forgive my confusion, but I do a couple of municipalities, I have to check specifically on what things can one, get notice to abutters. Not everything does in every place, it's a local law, and so.
So this needs to be researched or looked into.
Well, I mean, it's right in there,
I'm not
I
clear
just don't
on how-
remember.
On how that's relevant, like whether he attended the.
Maybe it's not,
That's not
it's
what
not,
this-
I think it's just asking.
Okay.
And he's asking questions that actually are public knowledge if you attend the planning board meetings about the development, so I'm just suggesting.
Or read the
that If you have these
minutes.
concerns, and they're very valid, but be sure that you know what is being done to mitigate some of the concerns. You have to be fair, you can't just.
I did have just that one specific
Yeah,
question,
no,
because
generally, like if something's going on with this property, all of the other properties, if there's a variance, we'll get a letter, a certified letter. And
I
then whether
believe
you-
we got one letter.
Right,
And
you
so
will
that's
get
what-
one letter for that hearing, and then at the beginning, and then all the property owners get that letter.
Okay, it sounded
We
like.
didn't have a lot of people
From the other-
during those hearings, we had many hearings
But,
about
but
this.
there's been, yeah, but there's been more than one public hearing open. No?
For the special use permit?
Continuously.
Because I mean, it
No,
opened in September 2016 and then
It's been open
closed in
continuously.
December 16.
No, it's never been closed. It has
It's
been
closed in
adjourned.
your meeting minutes, December 2016.
Yeah, that's when
You're
it's
talking
voted
about
on.
planning board, she's talking about ZBA.
No, I'm saying that there's two public hearings, public hearings, I believe, I mean, this is state law, no?
There's been-
I think that's
There
what
was two. There was a public hearing for the special use permit back in 2016.
Right.
And when the site plan got going, they opened the public hearing for that, which has been adjourned and continuously open
Right,
for over
but
2
there
years.
have been two.
There have been
public
two.
hearings. Yeah.
Yes, one for each board, right?
Yeah.
But they continue more than 1 month.
One
Yeah.
notice that's.
But one notice is enough. Just to let you know, in the future, if you get that notice, that means.
I could have to research.
It's
that.
noticed on the commencement of the public hearing,
Yes.
and it's adjourned over, it doesn't get mailed out every time.
And you keep
But
copies
yes,
of
there
those,
was
I
one for each
assume.
of them. And the other ones.
Okay,
turned on
so,
over 2 years.
Yeah, and if you notice on the other ones we asked before we voted, is there
Is there anyone
anyone to
here?
speak on this? About it, and it's part of our procedure.
right,
Okay,
so, yeah.
well, one last question for you. When you purchased the property? When you purchased your property? Or
My,
did?
my father purchased
Oh,
it
okay.
in 1949.
Okay,
So
I
that's
was
a
gonna say,
long,
yeah.
long,
But,
And there was
History
a
of
Chevrolet
Copake.
dealership there at the time.
pardon?
At the time, there was a Chevrolet dealership on the corner.
There was. Yes, and I've read some of the documentation of how difficult it is to actually go back and verify some of these things, and I know that personally,
It's
just
an
because,
extensive work.
you know, was there
Right.
gasoline, you know, and I think there was, but, you know, it's memory, and that,
I'm just saying, newer purchasers of property in the area are aware of zoning and know it's a commercial zoning area, potentially commercial, so that's the only reason I asked it. You are an exception because there wasn't zoning when your family bought the land, so that would not be something you would necessarily have been aware of. Thank you, unless there's any other questions. Very well presented, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have one, last applicant.
Hello, everybody.
Mm.
How you doing? Okay. I need to introduce myself. My name is James Chambers. Most people call me Jim. I'm all right. Thank you for having me. My hastily scribbled notes, I'll try to just blast through them.
Locate yourself wherever you are on the.
Locate myself.
Are you indicating 6 lots?
I would have to have my lawyer answer that,
I
but,
can tell you
We
that
get the picture,
there-
Yeah.
that's fine, we just need to generally know where you.
they're
You have
all
the
lots
farm.
except for this lot, these lots, and this lot.
So, yeah.
It's all, it's
Got it.
all in the.
Yeah,
One,
yeah.
two, three,
They're all in
4,
the-
5,
You have
6,
a general
correct,
idea.
6.
We know where you are.
Okay, all right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Alrighty, and it is called GRJH, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, again, thank you for allowing me to speak, about the proposed GRJH petroleum station. I've been here since 1999, 20 years, farming. I guess you'd call me a newcomer. My original intent for coming here was to farm. That reason for being here has only intensified with each successive year that I've been here. We started small on the back roads near the book barn and have, with care and consideration, gradually increased the size and scope of our operation. As many, if not most of you know, farming, excuse my language, ain't easy. It is a labor of blood, sweat, effort, love, and soul. Exclamation point. Nature rules and can be a very stern teacher. We have had many bumps, bruises, and lessons to absorb and from which to learn and improve what we're doing. Now we have land in both Hillsdale and Copake. And I say we because we have a big operation with a crew of loyal and dedicated workers who take great pride in what we do and how we do it. Although not officially certified organic, I can say with confidence, we are one of the cleanest and most sustainable farms in the county. I take great pride in saying that. I'm biodynamically trained farmer, and we take great care in not only working organically and sustainably, but also in treating the land and the water with respect and deference and sensitivity. Everything we do on our farms is done with that motivation, everything. We care. We care about the land, we care about the water, we care about our produce, we care about the health of our customers. We care about the earth, we care about our parents, our children, and our grandchildren. It's why we do what we do. And we care about the health of our neighbors. Specifically speaking, our latest large, and to me, very exciting project is and has been Sunnymead Farm, which is at the confluence of Craryville and West End Road, and south from there, here, in these six units here, which is the closest of our properties to the intersection of Craryville Road and Route 23. We are less than a quarter mile from that proposed intersection and filling station. I say for me, it is exciting because the land there at Sunnymead Farms is quite frankly exquisite. It is my reward for working the rocky soils just north of there for 20 years. As I said, we have learned to improve our farming techniques assiduously with sharp lessons of failure and success. My very first large task at Sunnymead has been to establish there an 11-acre parcel on West End Road, which is our 5th orchard, which is up in here. The orchard is comprised mainly of heirloom, multi-use cider apples from North America, Europe, and Central Asia, where apples were first cultivated. I've been working that orchard for the last 4 years, and compared to our other or earlier orchards, this is by far the best. I've learned my chops, humbly. It is on an extraordinarily beautiful hillside facing south and west, directly looking at the proposed petroleum station. You're looking at the apple tree planted. Every tree in that orchard has been planted by myself. The nature and ecology we are trying to foster, along with the superb view from there facing south and west, would in no way, shape, or form be helped by a very large filling station with heavy particulates belching from vehicles large and small, including very large diesel trucks, which we are moving away from next year. We are trying to get away from our diesel fleet. So I contribute. I will not say I'm Mr. Clean here, but we have this mentality. That is what we do. The next task project at Sunnymead is the opening of the aforementioned exquisite soil, which is, would be here and here. And we're doing this for vegetable. Bill Ferner and I have been working like yeomen, along with many others, to get these parcels. It's a 20-acre parcel, flat land. We've been working for 2 years, which is amongst the closest of our parcels to over there. We've been working to get it fenced, get it plowed, and get it planted. We just this August did our first plantings of legumes, brassicas, and lettuces in those fields. I repeat for the third time, this soil there is something about which to dream and pray. It is deep alluvial black topsoil humus with virtually no stones. One of my northern fields at Honey Dog is aptly named Rock Garden. This is the exact opposite of that. I feel like I weathered the 20 years of testing on much more difficult, shaly, schisty soils to finally deserve to work this land. I had to put in the work to do that. I would put this land up against any land anywhere in the world, not just locally, globally. It is that good. Plus, an added bonus is the aquifer below the Garden of Eden type soil. It is shallow and vast with impressive gallons per minute flow rate. It is 8 times greater flow rate than any other parcel we worked. None of our other growing sites compare remotely to here, to this combination of tilth, terrain, water, and solar aspect. It is lush, it is pristine, both the land and the water. And then comes a proposed gigantic petroleum station just down the lane. Viewable, smellable, audible, impactable. This will only harm our ecosystem, our microclimate, our views, and ultimately long-term stewardship of the land and environments. We as landowners, land protectors, and land workers will derive zero economic benefit from any type of petroleum station, especially a gigantic one anywhere near us. Unmistakably, it will degrade what we are doing. And let me close by saying that the rest of the world is leaving us literally choking on our fumes. The tide of climate change disaster is here and has been here for decades. We can argue that point. I'm making it. My other great joy at Sunnymead is our largest bee yard with 25 to 30 hives. The bees are dying, like the birds are dying, like the bats are dying. 3 billion birds have disappeared from North America in the last 50 years. Nothing indicates the health of a region and of a microclimate like bees. They are reflections not just of contiguous land parcels, but the health of entire ecosystems. And the science of ecosystems teaches us that we do not understand in great detail the science of ecosystems until we mess things up. Einstein said if the bees die, humans will die within 5 years. My bees are in peril every year. Putting in belching particulates within their 3-mile flight radius will add to their catastrophe. From my point of view, this will not only drastically and significantly and negatively affect the value of our operation and our land from top to bottom, immediately and into the long future, but more importantly, will hurt substantially the health of the community, the planet, and our children and their children. I take this with serious reflection, thought, and consideration. This ain't no joke for me. My hopes and dreams are that this part of the Hudson Valley can become a model and a beacon of sustainability with strong green economic growth for the state, for the nation, and for the world. We have that potential. Let's not mess it up. Like the health of any creature, prevention is much more easy than curing an ill. The health of a business, a family, of a community is measured not just by dollars and cents, but by wellness, wisdom, and legacy. That which we pass on should be better, not worse. Those are my concerns. We have a jewel of a viewshed, a watershed, a landshed, and I close by looking at that. The land of rural charm. Thank you for letting me talk. I'm trying to grasp you.
You did good.
We good?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I just had one word on standing, if I may, and then I don't know if Jamie had anything else. The one thing I wanted to say about standing was 1987, New York State Court of Appeals, Sunbright Car Wash versus Zoning Board of Appeals of North Hempstead. Court said that you need an injury of fact to have standing, but an injury of fact is presumed if the property owner lives sufficiently close to the project site. And here, we need that. I think that at least some of these property owners certainly meet that criteria. That was all.
Very clear, thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, you want to say?
Yeah.
No, you know.
Okay, the board feel we have sufficient information and knowledge, and thank the 3 people who may not be able to be here next month. If we have enough together to hold a public hearing the next meeting. And in that public hearing, we will hear from the other 6 agreed people. And then we
We
will,
don't have to.
if needed,
Yeah.
or we will determine that, yes, there's an agreed person, and then we will do the issue. That makes sense.
And then if you have the public, if there could be other input, I mean, if you want to say anything further about the argument, if they introduce it, you know,
Sure.
I mean, about the, you know,
the decision or whatever, you want
Sure.
to do that some.
Yeah, I can say a word on that, just to preview the
Okay.
argument on the merits. So there's a provision of the town code, 23323F, which sets a one-year expiration period for special use permits. It states, and I quote, "The special use permit shall expire and become void 1 year after approval unless the applicant shall have commenced and substantially proceeded with the use." And in this case, the specially permitted use was to build and operate a petroleum filling station. So our argument is that it's a fundamental rule of statutory interpretation under New York common law that these types of code provisions should be interpreted in accordance with their plain, ordinary meaning. And that in this case, to commence this specially permitted use means to actually commence physical construction of the project, of the gas station. And here, they haven't done that, they haven't even gotten site plan approval. So if they want, they could have asked for an extension of the 1 year period. It's been almost 3 years now since they got issued the special use permit. So our first argument is that the plain language of the code provision shows that the permit's expired. The code enforcement officer, in holding that the permit was not expired, read into that provision that just trying to get the site plan approval was sufficient to substantially proceed with the use. And that's not written into the statute anywhere. That is not consistent with the plain language of the statute. And the other piece of that argument is that the language of the code provision that the applicant must commence or substantially proceed with the use is very similar to the language underlying the common law doctrine of vested rights, vested property rights. And basically what that doctrine says is that if a property owner has relied on a legally issued permit, like a building permit, for example, and affected substantial changes, substantial work in reliance on the permit, then the town can't revoke the permit or say that it's expired. And under that doctrine, there is case law in the appellate division that says that a vested right is only attained upon the issuance of a special use permit when substantial work is performed and obligations are assumed in reliance on the permit. And here, substantial work has not been performed. So if you want to analogize to the vested rights doctrine, the permit has expired. And that's the argument on the special use permit in a nutshell.
Thank you. So, do we have a motion to open a public hearing on this appeal?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you very much. So, noticing will go out, under the code, these appeals and variance applications are all treated procedurally in the same way. So there is this list of abutters, people will get notified, probably here, that goes out, and the usual public notice, and, other.
I don't have a list of the bars.
I have.
Have you, okay.
Well, they're all in the
butters
affidavit, so
applicants.
I'll write them up for you, because they're in the
Okay.
application.
No, the abutters,
Oh, I'm sorry,
Say
the
that
abutters.
they all,
she's saying that she needs to know all the appellants.
I have those, I'll give you those. The appellant.
But it's not their abutters, it's the GRJ.
Yeah, it's better. The abutters is better.
You have the original abutters that we issued for the property.
yeah, sure, I have that.
Yes, we'll make those.
So this is what I'm gonna use?
That's what you would use.
And then I can.
Now, there's obviously broader information that more people will need.
It'll be part of the, it's on the normal public notification, and all that, and the building inspector wants to, or hear or put in something, anybody, then it's open, then it's open.
I'm not gonna ask them.
Well, it's open for everyone involved to weigh in with their interpretations, their, whatever it is, it's a public hearing, so the input is open to whomever.
And should Craryville expect a response to the request to reopen secra? If not during these proceedings, then at some point? Or should we assume that that request has been denied?
Well, I would say that there's no authority to rescind. The only thing that you brought up tonight, I mean, the cases are, and none of the cases you put in allow for the board to reopen or rescind the declaration. The one thing that you brought up that, you know, I can look into, it has to do with the ongoing, you know, and I know in one of the cases you put in, it referred to the
The
New York
Committee
case.
on Environmentally Sound Development.
But that wasn't, as I understood, that wasn't what the question was. We were talking about rescinding. So that's something that we can bring up as, you know, to the extent there may be some responsibilities in that regard. So I wouldn't say that there's any response to that question. But I think as far as what you wrote, which is request to rescind the negative declaration, we're not allowed to do that.
We have no mechanism to do it.
I mean, it's prohibited.
We can only, answer appeals.
So that is the decision.
Well, I will advise them, but I mean, we have specific case law, and we have, and it's mentioned in case after case that you cannot rescind once you've issued the permit. So we have no jurisdiction to, it's not.
Even if there's new information that comes.
Exactly, that's exactly what the case
Special
says.
use permit has been issued.
And that's exactly what the case says. You know, the one that I wrote at the beginning, that there was a special use permit, I went to the
I'm just
site.
trying to understand your position.
My position is, this board cannot, under the law of New York, rescind the negative declaration.
We just don't have
from
authority
June. They
to do
cannot do that.
So
Okay.
our
The
opinion
other,
doesn't
the
matter.
separate question that you raised, which is there ongoing duty to keep, you know, for the performance of the applicant under the seeker, I will look into, but that was basically a new question tonight. Because the stated question initially was rescission, and we said, we have no authority to do
But
it.
what about the secra regulations that say that there's an obligation to rescind if new information comes to light?
That's what the court specifically says ends.
Didn't apply after.
It ends at the time the permit is issued. That's what those cases say. And even the ones that you guys submitted, they make a point that, well, they can do it because they had not issued a permit yet. So all the cases are consistent, and one of them is almost identical. You know, so there is, the cases are very explicit that they're forbidden from rescinding once they've given a permit.
Understood.
But the other stuff, I'm happy to look
Did
at.
we receive this in writing? Your response to this response?
No, I'm telling you now. We have no, I mean, I put it in an email that this was, we're here for one thing, but we don't have authority to do it. I mean, that's the opinion, and.
And you
it's very
explained it
clear.
at the planning board a couple of months ago, the
And I
exact same
explained it again.
position.
They're forbidden from doing it. I don't know what more to say.
The same thing with the stay of the planning board, I wouldn't know how to put a stay on the planning board, so again, we can't.
They're
we
proceeding on the
can't accept
appeal
that
of the
application.
building inspectors, the code enforcement officers, decision. I would say I don't anticipate this is an issue with that, but it is something that came up as a question. I don't think it's, but we wanna look at it, confirm it, is that, it was sort of a question kind of out of the blue, unconnected to any particular action. I'm proceeding on the assumption that that's something that's reviewable. But there's the possibility that, you know, the time for that might have been at the time the building permit is issued, that was challenged. Can you just go back and ask somebody out of the blue to reiterate a question? And I just wanna bring it to your attention. I'm gonna look into it. I'm not saying that that's the case by any means, but, for example, and I know it's not quite the same situation, but just, if a board issued a permit or something, and somebody wrote a letter and said, we don't think that permit's good anymore, and they wrote a letter and said, yes, it is, that wouldn't allow you then to sue them. It wouldn't allow you to reopen the question that was already had been settled.
Well, this is a little different.
Well, I agree it's not the same, but I only wanted to bring it up.
Information that just came out that is the basis for the request. It's not that they're just, it's just occurring to them now.
Well,
that
sorry,
this
I
is-
just wanted to bring it to your attention, I don't wanna blindside anybody, I'm
Okay.
gonna look at it, I don't think, I think it's a reviewable decision by the code enforcement officer, but it did occur that it's not tied to, usually these things are on the issuance of a permit, or on the issuance of a building permit, and says, well, that was not valid because of this, it's sort of odd to basically ask for an advisory, is this thing, what's the status of this thing in the middle of the process? You know, it's not, it's not tied to anything. Could people then ask questions to boards or bodies at any time about anything? And by getting an answer, then put themselves in a position where they could challenge it and be going to go to court. As I said, I think it's probably fine. I'm not gonna go any further on it right now, but it occurred to me, I wanna bring it to your attention, so maybe you wanna look at it yourself.
Are the members of this board, are you aware of the new leak information that we're talking about, what that refers to, this new information?
Not, I think we're talking about different new
Yeah, now
information.
we're
We're talking,
Oh,
the
okay.
new information we're talking about is the building inspector
Yeah.
saying the permit is valid.
Right.
Right, not,
Right.
it's not information related to the substance of the project.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Okay.
We're just talking about,
If I could, Ranger, I would like to thank everyone here tonight. You've been very well behaved. Sorry, I kind of have to be tough about that, but otherwise we can't operate as a board. You saw it already took us 2.5 hours to get through what usually takes us about 45 minutes. So again, I appreciate all of your patience and your courtesy. Other than that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.